The Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II. Detroit's homeless population is not very big when you compare it to bigger cities, but it's growing. There are over 1,700 homeless individuals in Detroit, Hamtramck, and Highland Park, according to a one-night count conducted by the city of Detroit and two nonprofits. That's a 16% increase compared to the previous year's count. People who experience homelessness or just need assistance often have to go to different places to get care and resources. Knowing where to get help can be a challenge, but a new map aims to simplify that. The Detroit Needs Management Map tells people where they can get food, healthcare, shelter, or a shower in Detroit and its suburbs. The map was created by Cass Tretyak, a Wayne State social work student and an outreach navigator for community and home support. As of July 3rd, the map had over 117,000 views. And to discuss the map and what it's like to service people on the streets, we have Cass Tretyak here in the studio. Cass, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So first, Cass, before talking about the map, I want to talk a little bit about you. You were a mechanical technician working on cars. How did you go from that to social work?
Well, I knew that I wanted to break into the world of nonprofits because I was in a lot of dead-end jobs and places where I wasn't happy. And my bachelor's was in anthropology. I've always had this like deep-seated, profound love for human beings. And a friend of mine asked me once, "What do you want to do?" And she told me, I don't want to hear a salary. I don't want to hear a job title. I want to know what you want to do. So I told her I wanted to be out in a field. I didn't want to be chained to a desk all the time. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in the world around me in a way that felt tangible and real. And she said, "Well, what you're talking about is social work." And it took me some time to get around to there. And I decided that I was going to flirt with the idea of going back to school, but I wanted to try to get into the field first because I'm not going to invest in a master's degree of something that I don't like.
Right.
And that same friend was working at Community and Home Supports part-time as a case manager for some of their additional COVID funding. And she told me they were hiring for an outreach navigator. And she said, I'm not sure what that is, but I bet you would like it. So I applied, and the rest is history.
So you applied, you got the job, and now you are an outreach navigator. We didn't know what the title was at the time, but can you explain, now that you've been in the role, what that actually means?
So all of my clients are experiencing unsheltered homelessness, meaning they are living somewhere not meant for human habitation. So I mean like a vehicle, a bando, literally on the streets, encampments. I met someone living in like a broken down trailer once, like somewhere that is not meant for people to be living in, that is not safe to be living in. And part of what I do is vital doc restoration. So my colleague, Thasnia Chowdhury, and I will restore IDs, social security cards, birth certificates, at a bare minimum, an ID. We do basic needs, so we will do our rounds and we stop at like the bando, the camp, whatever, and drop off like food and water. Hey, how you doing? How's your day going? Like that type thing. And then we also do housing navigation. So before I came on, actually, I was sat in your waiting room filling out some packets that I did because I did 2 intakes yesterday.
Okay.
And once I submit those clients will be put on a list for prioritization to get a voucher. And once a nonprofit within the continuum of care reports that they got money to spend or a vacancy in like a fixed site building, like those new beautiful ones that were just built on Campbell in Michigan by my side, then we will move forward with the housing process. We'll start the slow handoff to the case manager. We'll do the paperwork to get them in or help them apartment hunt or whatever that might look like. That's the basics, but every case is very, very different.
The basics. Okay. It's interesting that you call that the basics. I mean, it's an involved job, and I understand that is kind of the bare minimum of what people need to live. But that sounds like that's a pretty involved role for you to play in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, it is.
But I want to get to the map, Cass. Why did you create the map?
So I started my job in September of 2023. And I didn't come from a background in it and also was really bad with directions. I'm still not great, but as long as I can get to a major road, I'm okay. And it occurred to me on literally less than 2 weeks of working there, because I started on the 1st and I made this map on the 12th of September of 2023, it occurred to me that I didn't know where anything was. Soup kitchens, food pantries, shelters, warming centers. I didn't know where any of that was. And if I didn't know, the client might not know because they're in crisis mode and they might not be thinking about that. There is a lot of shame that comes with poverty and homelessness, often unnecessarily, and especially when substance use is involved. And I realized if I don't know, they may not know either. And they're going to expect me to know. They're going to ask me these things. And if I don't know, then that kind of makes me a useless case manager. So if I was going to be good at this, I needed some kind of like a list or a reference or something. Where are these things? So I could quickly pull it up on my phone and route to it. And the map was kind of born. And then it kind of just started originally like just for me. Like I shared it internally with my coworkers, and it was strictly like where you can go to get food, where you can go for food and showers, and places that do food, showers, and laundry. And then I kind of realized, like, well, I could also just send this to clients.
Right.
Like, they're adults. They don't need me to handhold. And I think that sense of self-determination and autonomy is very important. Like, it's kind of why we call it outreach. Like, I put out the hand, but you have to take it. And I think so many different programs can be so handholdy. It kind of removes that autonomy, and I wanted to give it back. So when a client had a phone, I would pull this map up on my phone's browser and show it to them and show them how it worked, and then just send them the link and say, like, what you're looking for, you can probably find on here. Because I've even got bus routes on there, so it shows you how to get there.
Yeah.
So you can kind of have that autonomy back.
And just so I can make it clear for listeners, this is, if I understand correctly, like a Google map where you've like bookmarked locations throughout the city where you can find those sort of things that you then share the link to.
Yeah. So this is a custom Google map. It's kind of like I don't want to call it a secret feature, but it feels like a underutilized feature where you can just build your own map. I upload Excel CSVs and and it is linked like in real time to like Google Maps as a whole.
That's cool.
And I can upload CSVs from Excel or Google Sheets because it's all in my Google Drive, and categorize everything and color code it and like show it on there all nice, neat, and pretty. There's 10 different layers and there's like a little drop down menu with each, so that when you look under like the very first one of homeless services and basic needs, you could click downwards and see, oh, the respite centers is literally any library in the city. Here's how to get a shelter referral, and here's where I can go, and here's where I can go if I need to have a shower today, or I need to do laundry for free, or here's how I can get a referral for shelter, stuff like that.
I bet you were surprised to find out that something like this didn't already exist, that you had to be the one to kind of make this happen.
Yeah, kind of, because a lot of agencies have like resource lists, right? And it's like this like fat packet that is like written down that they will then say, well, here, and like circle things or, you know, highlight things that are relevant to whatever their client says that they need. And I don't think that's bad, but I know me personally, like I am very visual. That tells me nothing. I don't know where it is. I don't know how close it is to me, especially like homelessness, especially unsheltered homelessness is so uniquely traumatic. A lot of times when someone finds an area that they're comfortable in, they like to stay there. They may not like to leave their area because, I mean, your whole life might be in that tent. So you don't want to be too far away. You want to make sure you can get back, because I've had clients come back and find that their site is destroyed, whether it was torn down in a so-called cleanup or whether it was just destroyed by someone who thought it would be funny. They came back and found their tent was on fire and all of their documents and everything destroyed.
Wow.
So it's like, being able to see it and actually know where it is huge.
In proximity to like where your lived experience is, right? There's like what you see is what you know, and this map
where
kind
are you
of
comfortable?
broadens. Exactly.
Where are your friends? Where's your support network? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. How has it changed over time, the map? Other than expanding, you know, the numbers of services and like what's on the map, how has it kind of grown since you started creating it?
Well, it's definitely gotten more organized.
Okay.
At first, I didn't realize that you could upload CSVs to it, and every single thing on there I placed by hand, manually. I searched it up, I typed the description, all of it. I see the look on your face. It was so much time.
Yeah.
But then I wised up a little bit and realized, oh, well, that's easier. So then I had to take the time to transfer everything into CSVs. And that also took a long time, but it was so worth it because it's so much cleaner. Its biggest flaw is that you couldn't really search like, I am a single father with 2 children, I need to eat today. But it's cleaner than it was. It's easier to sort than it was.
Yeah.
You could at least go through and look at like soup kitchens and stuff like that in your area or food pantries or whatever, and still at least get an idea of how to meet your needs, you know?
Yeah. You're listening to The Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II. We're talking about a Detroit Needs Management map that was developed by Cass Tretyak, a Wayne State social work student and outreach navigator. The map allows people to electronically access all kinds of resources in one place. Cass has been breaking down how the map works and why it was needed. I also want to note that you can access the map, the Detroit Needs Management map, by going to camdetroit.org/gethelp. So, Cass, there are a lot of people who believe that people living on the street or in unsafe housing situations should be responsible for getting themselves out of the position they're in. You've seen them face to face. You've worked with them closely through your work as an outreach navigator. What do you say to people who have that point of view?
I would say that they're wrong, point blank. And I would say there's no such thing as being able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
It is literally physically impossible. While I do believe that the client autonomy is important, and I think it's important not to handhold so much, at the same time, a random individual cannot just manifest a housing voucher. If you've been on the street for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you can't just magically walk in somewhere and get a job. You can't just all of a sudden make the trauma go away. You can't just all of a sudden start managing your disability when you couldn't before. It doesn't work like that. And you need a helping hand to do it. It is, I think, unfortunately, a very American perspective to have. And I kind of think that's a flaw. And that fierce independence, it's harmful. I think if we relied on one another more, things would be easier. And I think with an attitude like that, the most important thing to remember is that the homeless people in your neighborhood are your neighbors. They could be you. It could be your partner. It could be your best friend, your sister, your mother. It could be anyone. Most people in this country are 1 or 2 paychecks away from complete financial ruin.
I would say one specifier, I guess, in that last question I wanted to add is, in the way you responded to me, is like they are solely responsible. But what I think I'm hearing from you is there is some responsibility that they have to engage, but they are supported by the community around them on top of that. This map is an example of, there are places around that help, and we do expect them to go to those places, but they might need to know where they are and how many there are and the options that are available to them. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Like in helping clients restore vital documents and stuff, like we can make the appointment and I can get you there, but I can't be you. Like I need you to come with me and do the thing and give them whatever they need so that we can get your social security card, whatever. I can't put on my mask and do my best impersonation of you and expect to walk out with it. You know what I mean? So I can get you there, but sometimes you got to go the rest of the way. But I'll be here to support you if you fall back.
You work with people who believe to be who you believe to be underserved. I'm wondering if you always believe that folks who are in need of help were deserving of that help. And if you didn't always believe that, how did you come to the conclusions that you have about people who are experiencing homelessness?
So to be honest, I didn't always believe that. It is very much a form of propaganda and no one is immune to it. And to act like I came out of the womb with all these perfect, compassionate, loving opinions would be doing a disservice and it wouldn't be true. So I didn't always think that, no. It took time to unlearn and actually be able to look around and see things and grow up, to be blunt, and learn how to see through those lies and things that weren't true, especially because like substance abuse runs in my family. It has killed people that I love. And sometimes they have had not so ideal housing situations because unfortunately the substance, the disability, it was disabling. It kind of destroyed their lives in very real, tangible ways. And that was very hard and scary to watch. And it was like the older that I got and the more I read and the more I educated myself and the more I learned about some of my own family's past, the more I was like, oh, I understand why this happened. It's all trauma all the way down. No one wakes up one day and is suddenly addicted to opioids and living on the street. It just doesn't work like that.
And that was the kind of the spark that opened the opportunity for you to reinvestigate what your kind of previously held understandings were of people who were experiencing homelessness, right? It was your family's experience that made you say, well, maybe I should rethink how we assess people who are struggling right now.
Yeah, kind of. And it was just education in general, I think, and understanding more about the way that class and like economic society plays a role in the society in which we live and who it hurts and why it hurts them. And it all just kind of snowballs a little bit and turns into things like unsheltered homelessness and generational trauma. Because the thing that a lot of people, I think, understand but can't always articulate, especially in the moment, is that poverty collects interest mentally, physically, financially, and emotionally.
The last thing I want to ask you is whether you always felt this way about helping folks who are experiencing homelessness. Beyond your career in pursuing social work, how have you kind of changed, and has it always been this way about pursuing it to this degree, creating systems? You talked about wanting to help people, but what has it been like now to realize what that looks like in the work that you've done and its impact?
Being able to actually see what it looks like now, I think when I was younger, it's like I knew that there were problems around me and I didn't have answers for them and I didn't know how to explain them. I just knew that it was bad. So really what I needed was to kind of focus on something specific like homeless services, for example, to then kind of be able to work around that and actually do something tangible. But I think overall, like a lot of things, it took time.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think sometimes folks can get a little bit of a savior complex and things like this. Ooh. And that is detrimental to the client. And I think it ultimately came down to me also realizing that I tend to operate on 3 very basic principles. And it's that human life has value because it exists. It is more important to love, support, and uplift oppressed peoples rather than to hate the oppressor, even if it's fun to be a hater. And that assume everyone is unique and interesting. They have the greatest life story never yet told. And I kind of think that with education and time and maturity, it kind of came naturally.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Cass. I probably need to adopt some of those principles. I think that's fantastic. That you think that everyone, I'm just a very kind of insular person. So to hear that is fantastic. Cass Tretyak is a Wayne State social work student and outreach navigator for community and home supports. She also created the Detroit Needs Management app, which shows anyone where they can get food, healthcare, shelter, or a shower in Detroit and its suburbs. You can find the map by going to camdetroit.org/gethelp. Cass, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next, the Black Slate recently endorsed Reverend Solomon Kinlock in Detroit's mayoral race. The chairman joins the show to discuss. We'll be right back on the Metro. Stay